as well. So yeah, I think it's probably about my 10th or 11th talk, and it's been very good. As I'm speaking, as I talk, I'm learning, and yeah, and I must say, just being listening to you guys, it also is quite encouraging because we're all going through very difficult times, and it's good to have these sessions where you can just be motivated to keep going, and having some laughs here and there. It's always good. Um, the topic I have today is something that we could easily overlook, or we perhaps don't have the time to do it, but it is a key aspect in keeping out of the rut and avoiding those times where you just stagnate. And the aspects that I'm going to talk very briefly today is on research and creativity. And yeah, we've got our straight and narrow, and we follow the standards, and we got to do the things right, which is a given, and it gives us a foundation and to build that professionalism. But within that narrow boundaries, there's a need to keep researching and to apply that creativity. And I've just defined it as this, and maybe to give it as a platform. I've defined research. Research is about discovering the unknown and making it known. The creativity is about making the unknown a reality and purposeful. So you would have picked up there that you got to just keep looking at how you can improve things. And I've realized in my own journey in project management, the one aspect is the aspect of administration, because I would realize early on in my career that the way I administrated, that I was not coping. It was just too much work. I had turnkey projects, and I had this and that, and I realized I'm not making it. So I then needed to research what are the other tools. What could I use? Microsoft Project I started to look at, and then you've researched it. Then the creative side is implementing it, making it purposeful. The that which you weren't aware of, then actually putting it into place. And you may need help there with the experts to help you implement so that you take yourself to the next level. And that's what it's really about. If you put these things in place, you actually take yourself to the next level. And it is about a lot about technology for sure, and doing things better. And I can give many more examples. The one that's been on my mind, and I know it's not exactly in our field, is the electric vehicle. It seems to be breaking into our market. And I'm just wondering, and I've been pondering, what effect is it going to have on employment? What effect is it going to have on your staying at petrol stations, etc.? And it's a whole reinvention for the motor industry, which is a key industry in our country. And there's a good example where those guys are going to have to research, and they're going to have to be very creative, especially in our environment in South Africa where we have a lot of unemployment. So you want to implement, but for the better. And that's perhaps another aspect that one has to consider when you apply research and creativity. Um, yeah, so really that's all I have to say. It is quite a lot more examples I could give. But as a leader, one has to look at your team in closing now and look at what you do. Make sure you adhere to the standards as I mentioned. But you've got to keep looking at, as the movie guys say, actually stretching that envelope, opening that envelope, going into the unknown. And you may need to pull in some people in your team. It's not everybody's forte, but those that you can sense they like to dig deeper and look at what's out there, and maybe get one or two people or a group of people and say, research this, have a look at how we do things. Can we do it better? Contact people, look at other guys, how they do it, and then let's talk about it, brainstorm, and do the proper research and see those unknowns. And then together as a team, you can look at the creative side. How can we implement? When can we implement? What are the costs in the costs of this? I know in the past we've introduced load flow programs in what we do, and they're very expensive but very useful, and you may need to stagger that implementation. So there is a cost implication, but you've got to push those things because you will easily fall behind. That's the thing with the modern world, with technology, with new things, you could easily fall behind. So you got to kind of stay with it. And so that's it from my side. Thank you to you guys for listening once again. And yeah, I'm sure there'll be maybe some inputs what you guys reckon on their one. Thanks a lot. Cheers. Bye.
Thanks,
Adrian, can I just come in there? I just want to know something. Usually the young guys that work with you, I find they don't not creative. So what I do is I actually give them a little task and tell them to go and find out. It's just a small thing, and you give them a time frame. You say, this is what you got to do. You have to give me the answer by tomorrow. I don't know if you do something like that. And that builds up the creativity, because once you start working on site, and even when you're designing something, in my field, but in designing on any engineering project, and you have to design, you must know what you're talking about. And that's what I find that is lacking in our industry a lot. I don't know if you find that also in your area too.
Yeah, I like what you do. Sure, that's actually very, very good. Where you get guys to have a look at things and yeah, you give them a time frame. I have done it with guys, but I would like to do it more. I noticed in our industry there are a number of things that we've been doing for a very long time, and I was just curious: is there not a better way of doing it? And I would tend to link with guys that I know are the research type, especially with the complex ones, to have a look at is there any way better. Um, and I think with the young guys, yeah, there is that too. So I think it's a very good point where you got to just ask guys, is there any way better? Read up on this or find out from people. You got to stretch each other, and that's so I like what you say. It is something that we need to do, definitely.
Yeah, I'm going to give you an example. Many years ago, when I was working as a mine surveyor on one of the mines in Boksburg, and then you usually got this a senior guy there. He hasn't got his government ticket, but he's been working on the mine for many years, and he becomes a senior guy. He doesn't go underground. He just checks your calculations. So I went to him one day and I said to him, but why are we doing this way? Can you explain to me? And this is what we must never, ever do to our younger guys who are coming up in the industry. And this is what he said to me. It's been done like this for many years. You don't question it, you just do it. And that we must never do. We must be able to explain what to do. If we want to be leaders in the industry too, we must be able to lead and explain how the calculations are done, why we're doing certain things. But I find it's easier for the young guys. You give them a little task and you say, this is what has been done. Find out why we're doing that. Or you give them something and tell them, this has been done this way, but see if you, like you say, go and find it if it can be done on a better way. Or explain to me why it's been done this way, and research. Because we have to get our younger guys to do research. They're not people just there to learn, just to copy. They must learn to look out at the new technology. We're learning every day of new things that have been put in the industry that we never knew about. And we do our research before we make our decisions. And that's all I want to say there. I don't know if you agree with that, Adrian.
Yeah, another solid point. Yeah, that is definitely not something to be said. Like this is how we do it, and we'll just keep doing it for hundreds of years. No, I agree with that, and I just think we're in a changing environment. There's so many changes happening. If you take my industry with the whole renewable sector, we moving into a flexible generation situation, and you got to just keep open-minded and look at new technologies, look at different ways of doing it. There's a whole focus on climate change and those type of things. So you got to move with those things. So great points. And I think it's again the heart, the attitude, and be willing to help others, and if they come up with ideas, to walk a road with them,
Yeah.
because they may just be right. So we gotta be, yeah. So good points.
Because let me give another example. When we went to study, for in our fields, we were never told about environmental and social interaction with people. It's been done nowadays, but it wasn't a requirement in that sense. We only found this out when we started. A good example is like you finished your matric and then you went in to go and get a loan. You didn't know about interest on that because you did the academic subjects, unless you did, in the financial side, that you went to one of the commercial schools. These things we found out, but nowadays we have to teach the young people to understand. These are the things that does interact with our industry at all times, the different disciplines.
Thanks,
Okay.
Chris. Thanks,
I
Adrian.
think we basically finished there. Okay.
Are you ready to go, Chris? I've got. Can you see the screen?
Yes, I can see the screen. Okay. Just say afternoon to everybody. My name is Chris Meinhardt. I'm a professional technologist, technician. I belong to IPED, SAT, and SAICI. I'm also an ECSA assessor, moderator, and interviewer. So today what we're going to discuss is about referees. But let's just go to the introduction. And today we're discussing referees, the aim of a referee report, the purpose of referees, preferred minimum period of a referee, choosing a referee, requirements for a referee in relation to engineering technologists. These are the things that we have to discuss. Now we're going to talk about the guidelines for a referee. Now, the aim of a referee report is the aim of the referee report is a confidential, necessary, and supplementary document for your registration as a professional engineering technologist. So it doesn't mean that it's just you have to do, that's the beginning and the end of your report. It's one of the documents that is required to help to be us as moderators and even assessors to check to see what is, your not character, your professional industry to the industry. But we'll come back to that just now. What is the purpose of a referee? The referees are persons who have personal knowledge of your engineering work experience, who give a confidential report on your engineering ability. That's what a referee is. It's not on your character. And the preferred minimum period, we like to have the preferred minimum period is of your personal knowledge of your engineering work experience is a minimum of 3 years, but it's not cast in stone. It depends on how it's done then, and now the referee. Requirements to be a referee must be registered at ECSA. A referee must be either a professional engineering technologist or professional engineer. This is now for technologists. Engineer have got other standards, and then for technicians have got it. We're only talking engineering technologists today. If a referee can also be a professional certificated engineer or professional technician, provided that he or she is your direct supervisor. If your supervisor is not registered with ECSA, you must apply a fourth registered referee, which must be registered at ECSA. Okay. So we can carry on. Choosing a referee. The requirements for choosing a referee are: you must get permission from the persons you nominated to be your referees. Use Form B3 for formal correspondence with each referee. Enclose copies of the referee report, Form B4 ref, to each referee. Inform the referee where the completed referee report must be sent to. So you can either use it by post or by email to ECSA. It is better to use electronic mail to send the request to the referee, because post nowadays is not reliable. Okay.
That is what the
Now, this slide shows you how the form 4B REF is. There up top is your applicant's name, your referee name, your ECSA's registration category, for instance, Professional Tech Eng, or PR Techni Eng, or PR Eng, or your Professional Certificate Engineer, PCE. Then your registration number and your referee employer, I mean, where's he employed? The personal knowledge of applicants' achievements from when to when, and your personal relationship. It must be either preferably unrelated, and then must be either mentor, supervisor, employer, or colleague. Now, when we're going down to evaluation, the referee can write CDC, CDI, CND, or CND and X. Now, CDC is where it's constantly demonstrated competency. Now, CDI is demonstrate competency, but not consistently. Now, CNDD is demonstrated competency, but is developing. Now, CND, the applicant has not demonstrated competency, and X is unable to comment. So you fill in these 11 outcomes that are there. They are similar to the outcomes that is required for it's similar to the requirements as outcome 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11 as what is in your engineering report. Now, a lot of the referees write just CDC, but they must also give a reason. Any of the comments they give, they must give a reason for. And then they can either add under optional further comments for additional information on the applicant, or if they don't have to fill that in, it's just optional. And then view holistically, they can write CDC or CDI, CNDD, and they must give a reason for that. If they don't, then it's a bit difficult for us as assessors to determine that. Then the referee fills in his name, where he declares that he has given the information correct to his knowledge, and hereby he confirms the standards, competency standard as documented in RO2 PT, which is RO2 nowadays, STA, PE, PT, PCE, and PN. And he understands the rules of ECSA also. And he signs it and he dates it and he sends it off. Usually you can send it to the engineer at exa.co.za by email nowadays. And then we're going to the application where you request a referee on form B3. Where there it states the person after you've discussed it with them, and then we go to sheet B4. This must be included with the form B3 before REF to ensure that the referee knows what he's doing and how he must evaluate you. Okay, go to the next slide. Okay, now the completion of the referee report by a referee. Now this is when you, later on, when you also, even though you might not be registered, one of your colleagues may require you to fill in one of these referee reports to understand. So under this heading, we're going to discuss the requirements in completing the referee report when you are nominated, as a referee. A referee is a person nominated by the applicant to convey to ECSA on a confidential basis personal knowledge of the applicant's capabilities. Please, if you're a referee, do not discuss your outcomes in that with the applicant. The referee must clearly and strongly motivate their opinion regarding the applicant's readiness for registration in terms of the ECSA outcomes. That is 1 to 11. When you sign the referee report, you acknowledge you are acquainted to ECSA's requirements as stipulated in documents RO2, SDA, PT, PEPT, PCE, and PN, and also ECSA's rules of conduct for a registered person. Okay, we can go to the next slide you're on. Remember, this report is not a character study of the applicant. As a referee, you must be carefully evaluate the capabilities, ethical and professional competency of applicant in the terms of ECSA's outcomes. A referee must have personal knowledge of the applicant's engineering work. A referee must give a professional opinion of the applicant's engineering ability, level of engineering responsibility, and professional conduct for the period of personal knowledge of the applicant's engineering work. Okay. All right, now we're going to talk just a summary of the referees. Summary today, we briefly discussed choosing of referees and what to do when you are a referee yourself. Make sure you choose a referee who satisfies the requirements as stipulated in the application form. When you are a referee, remember, do not do a character study of the applicant, but to comment on his engineering ability. Okay. You can go to the next slide. Okay. I just want to do the acknowledgement. The presentation is based on the Engineering Council of South Africa, ECSA's application form, sheet B 1.2, paragraph 6, and form B4 REF. And that's the end of our presentation. And thank you for listening. And if there are any questions, thank you. Okay. Are there any questions?
Chris, what about if a relative of yours act as a referee? How is that viewed? Say for your father or your uncle or something like that.
It depends on if he's a supervisor. It can be a conflict of interest. It does cause a bit of a problem because basically they're not unbiased towards you. That can be an issue there. So it's preferably not to use a relative as a referee. But if he's a supervisor and is working, it will be questioned also by the ECSA about that. But it's not impossible.
The question here is asked whether this talk also applies to candidate engineers. Obviously, the same principles that we have mentioned here today for candidate technologists who apply as technologists, professional technologists, same principles apply for people who apply as professional engineers. You have to, it's basically exactly the same principles that apply. Zolani, you've got your hand up. Unmute yourself and ask your question.
Okay. Thank you, Johan. Can I ask? Can you hear me clear?
I can hear you.
Okay, Chris. No, Chris. My first question is that how do the referee's report are weighted in terms of your registrability comparing to your report and then to your professional review? Because the reason why I'm asking this question is because of sometimes you're asking a referee on your previous company that you worked on, and then maybe you left the company, they didn't feel well about that. And now when they were rating you on your referee's report, maybe they didn't refer you well. But then on your ECSA report, you can demonstrate that you did meet the competency standard. And then my second question is not relevant to the topic of today. It's not relevant to the topic of today, but it is, in my case, I have done my design problems, and then now I will submit my application in June. And then on my training and experience report, I return the end of the date where I undertake the activities in March. So now for this period, which is maybe from March up to December, I need to write up the period of which I didn't do any engineering problem. I was just supervising people and making sure everything is according to the program. That is my second question.
Okay, let me just answer the first question. The referee report is a guideline that we use. We also look at your training engineering report and your engineering report. So everything comes together. So basically what happens is, if you read the one a few slides back where I said, when you're doing a referee report yourself, it's not a character assassination. It's the ability of you to do your ability to do engineering work. How that has been evaluated by the referee. That has to be done. And we also do pick it up, because many times that same person that you said as a referee, he signs your training engineering report with no comments, and we'll see that you're actually at the level of a technologist, but yeah, he's telling in the referee report, you're not on the level of a technologist. So what does count more? We look at the engineering report, we look at your training report of all the other people that you worked for, in the periods that you've done. So this is why it's very critical to write your training engineering report from day one, when you started working with engineering, where you started the training there, where you were just assisting and looking, where you worked yourself from level A to level E. That will give us a good indication of that. So does that answer your question there, Solani, on that?
Yes, Chris, you answered me well. Yes, Chris.
Okay, now your second one, I didn't quite make out what you were saying, the engineering problem. You did a design, so now you're basically working on site with your design, am I correct? For 6 months.
Yes, I'm trying to say that on your last 6 months, you didn't do an actual design. You were supervising maybe construction activities, but I'm working in the lab. So now I do design, and then they were approved by my chief engineer. And then now I'm working in the lab, like supervising testers. And then I only did the design for the purpose of ECSA. So now my question is, for this period that I didn't do any, like solving any engineering problem, and then I was only supervising tester. So do I need to put it there to make it the 36 month?
No, okay, let me ask you, you say you were supervising testers and that, and you work in a laboratory now at the moment, you've done your design, and they're doing it everything according to. You get into some problems. How do you solve it? You just say, no, that's my design. You're actually doing problem solving. That's also engineering activity that you're doing with your design that you did. You're looking at that and you're maintaining that to ensure that the design gets followed through and your method statement that is followed through. Am I correct?
Okay.
Zolani?
No, I'm not. It's not. Yes, sir. I'm still available.
Yes, but what I'm saying is you're supervising. That's also one of the requirements that you have to do on an engineering activity.
Yeah.
You're doing project management. You maintaining that the people, they do certain tests at certain times. Am I correct?
Yes.
Or they just do it on their own. So this is where you're doing also project, and you supervise to make sure that tests are done correctly according to your design.
Yeah.
Am I correct?
Yes.
That you have to write in. You have to write that also in your report.
Okay. Okay. The thing
You
is, I don't
understand
want
what
to...
I'm saying? Yeah. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
You're still doing that. You're still taking the responsibility. You're taking ownership of your design. You're taking ownership of the laboratory to run the laboratory, to make sure it does run correctly. Because if you leave the people, they will not do what you want to do. Am I right?
Okay, you know, I get you. I get you.
So don't think there's a gap. You're employed, you're doing the work, and you're maintaining that your design does get carried through. Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Okay. I see there is a question from Fiwe. Fiwe.
Anyway,
Yeah. Okay, there you can do an affidavit, because what we do is we believe that when you are applying to become a technologist, some of the people you can't get hold of, and we do trust you, because if you give an affidavit, you're being honest, and I don't think you will give an affidavit wrongly. Eesh. There's gone my hearing a bit. Okay. So that you can. So that's no problem, Fiwe.
okay, Eugene,
Can
you
you?
put your hand up. Please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Good afternoon, guys. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, I can hear you.
I think I've got two questions as far as I remembered. I was a bit sidetracked now. My first question is, I joined a bit late and I see that these meetings are being recorded. Is there a possibility of it being available to us?
Yes, we share it on our website. The other 11 have been sent to our service provider to share it on the website, and I will just check with him. I didn't see him on the list today. He said he might be able to join us, but I didn't see him. But I'll check that they are on the website, and then I'll also share the link to the website, because it's not our usual IPIT website where it goes on our CPD website, and I'll share that link again.
All right, if you share it, because I found the link to this meeting on WhatsApp. Where are you planning to share this? Sorry, it may be a stupid question.
On all the groups, on all the IPIT groups that we have, there's two groups on Telegram. One is the discussion group and the one is the job portal. Then there's 3 job portals on WhatsApp, and the registration group and the discussion group. Those are the ones that I share it on.
Okay, all right, thank you. I'll go have a look. My second question, I'm sorry, say again.
I say it's open groups. But
Okay,
you've got another
I'll
question, please ask.
Yeah, my second question is, I've been working for the same company for about roughly 13 years now. And I've been with them since my days as a draftsman. And I've been studying through UNISA, and I got my diploma. And quite recently, I got my BTech. So obviously, I would like to register. And I guess my route would be to register as a professional technician first, and then I'll wait a little bit, and then I'll use my BTech to register as a professional technologist. Now, my technical director is related to me. So I was hoping that he can be one of my referees, but since he is related to me, being that my wife's aunt is married to my wife's aunt. So I was planning to use somebody else as my referee, who I've worked on a number of projects very closely with, but he's a mechanical engineer. And I studied civil, and my BTech is in structural. So a lot of the projects I did with him is a structural mechanics type of problems, where I did finite element models and stuff, and some dynamics. Can I use him as a referee? Do you foresee any problems with that?
Okay, I don't see any problems even with your if you're related, because the relation It does cause a bit of a problem, but it's not overcome. That you must just do a declaration to say he is a relation and he's unbiased towards you. He's not biased. So if he does that, that's no problem.
And he's
Then
a distant relation. He's a distant relation. He's not, not like your father or your brother or something.
Blood relation, you know, it's somebody direct. So he's distant, so that's no problem on that there. He just is related, and it declares to, under the options there, what is the relationship between you and him there. There is no problem of that there.
All right.
Then also using a mechanical engineer to give you as a colleague, that is fine. There's no problem, because you're working with different people. This is what we're trying to do. Is it doesn't need to have to be a civil engineer that if you're doing civil. It's to show that they understand that what you do and how you do it. They're looking at your competency. A mechanical engineer, you have an interaction with him. He gives you the masses of his pumps or his aircon or what he's going to hang up. Electrical engineer will also, and you're doing that design to make sure that the structure is fine. You know, you don't come to him and say to him later, no, you can't put this up because I've never catered for that. There is a working relationship. So this is basically, you'll have your one supervisor and or a mentor and a supervisor, and then you'll have maybe one or two colleagues that you work with. This helps us also to evaluate how you work. Because if it's in a company, it's easy to go and ask the guy that is sitting next to you, be my colleague, just quickly fill in the form. So it gives a broader outlook on where your character is, because we're looking for your ability to do engineering, your engineering ability, not only your character.
Chris, can I make a comment here?
Yes.
As far as mechanical engineering is concerned, there's an overlap field between civil and mechanical, or shall I say structural and mechanical. Mechanical engineers also can do structural engineering and design buildings and things like that. So that is part of their education as well. So it should not be a problem if a mechanical guy who's doing structures is your supervisor and your referee in this case at all, Eugene. And the interesting part here that I want to ask about is Eugene had been doing obviously his qualifications through UNISA. In other words, while he was working in engineering, he was studying, and he was now, he got his diploma in an extended period as well as his BTech in an extended period. Why should he also be, why should the rule of 3 years after your BTech also apply to him? Can't there be an allowance made for UNISA students who've been studying over an extended period and was doing engineering work while they were studying?
I just want to come in. That's the other part I was going to answer there. I've had the cases there where a person applied a year after he had his BTech or even 2 months, but then we look at his training. If he's taken it, for instance, you get some guys who do their BTech and they've done 6 subjects and they've been working as a technologist for 5-6 years, and then they do their last 2 subjects later on, after that. That gets taken into account. They can apply directly as if they've had their BTech for 3 years. That is to determine your level of experience. That counts there. You don't have to use the alternative route. So you can do it directly. That gets looked at and that gets taken into account also as assessors. So you don't have to go and do as a technician first and then as a technologist DG. Eugene?
Hi, I'm sorry. Yeah, my internet is a bit bad here when I'm standing. But
okay. Did you hear what I said? You can actually, due to your years of experience, if you've been working as a technologist, although you had your diploma and you're working at the level of a broadly defined engineering activity, at that level, you can actually apply directly for technologists not via the alternative route, but as if you had your BTech 3 years already of experience.
Okay, I suppose as long as I just provide sufficient proof of my experience and I suppose my exposure, then.
Yes, basically, you took, how long did it take you for your BTech, for instance? It took you maybe 4 years until you finished it. But you've been working on that level already previously in that 4 years there. You understand what I'm coming to? Then you don't need to use the alternative route. That will be taken into consideration. I've had cases like that before.
All right. Well, that is extremely good news.
He's had his BTech, but he did his BTech 5-6 years ago, but he didn't finish his last 2 subjects or something like that. Or he didn't finish the last subject, but he'd been working already as a technologist for years, in those 5 years. And he was already on the level E of responsibility. So that was taken into account, and he had his BTech. He went through the normal route. He didn't have to go to the alternative route. It's only the difference comes in where somebody does his BTech and he does it within the time frame that he has to do it, in the period, and he's already wants to, straight away register as a technologist, which doesn't happen that way. After that, he has to have the 3 years. So we take all these things into consideration there.
Yes, thank you. Understood. That's very good news for me. Thank you.
Okay, because it also happens that a person for instance, does his national diploma, and he studies for years, he's working already on the level of a technologist, and he's already basically on the alternative route, the requirements he's got, but he does his BTech, he can follow the BTech route. Although he has got his BTech, he got it today, and tomorrow he applies just the normal route that gets taken into account also. So he doesn't have to go on the alternative route there.
All right.
Okay.
So
that's very good news. Yeah.
Your engineering report, they will show that out, but also your training engineering report will definitely be highlighted. So when you fill in that training engineering report, the TRE, please take it from day one when you started to work as a technician. When you started learning, where you did at level A, even if it takes 30, 40 pages, it doesn't matter. We need to look at that. Because remember, you are trying to show to your peers, I am ready to become a professional technologist. I'm ready to become a professional in my field. So don't be shy about that. They say, you only have to have 50 pages or something like that. If you go a bit over, it's no problem. And also, when you're filling in your form, they say only for per item and subsections, 100 words. If you go over to 200 words, but you brought the point over, that's fine. You don't get penalized on that at all.
All right. Understood.
Okay.
Thank you.
So those help you a lot there.
Yeah, no, it's extremely good news for me. Thank you, guys.
Okay, thanks. Hey, Jean, Moelman?
Chris, how's it going?
Yes, fine. Can't complain.
I just wanted to know, will ECSA not just put the application aside if they see that 3 years have not gone by since he completed his BTech? How will it get to you guys?
No, basically what happens there is they actually look to see if you got your BTech, see and then they send it to us as assessors, and then we go through it.
Okay,
If
so they don't.
No, they don't give the ruling. You see, the administrator at ECSA has not. All what they check for is to see if the person, the referee, are registered and they are active. Their fees are paid up. They're not been cancelled. Okay. Basically, that they do there to see if the number is right. They see if you've got a BTech. They don't look at the time frames, and that gets sent to us. We look at that. And we make the decision as assessors From assessors, it's usually 4 assessors. Then it goes to your moderator and they give the final decision. So if we see that there is a person who has been working so many years and he's actually can do the alternative route, but he got his BTech, after the period, I think it is, what is it, 6 years or something like that. I can't remember off my head. That period with so many years of responsibility of 3 years, if I'm not mistaken. If you got that, but you got your BTech now, that will be taken into consideration. They
The
can't
alternative
say
route.
you don't need to take the alternative route.
Okay. What can you give a short description of the alternative route? If
Okay,
possible.
alternative route is basically if you've got a national diploma, I did discuss it. If you've got certain criteria, you have to have so many years of experience with so many years included of level E responsibility. That is where you design with very limited supervision. You take your designs. So basically you tell the people about your experience, your calculations, how you went about it. Those are forms from 1 to 4 that you have to fill in, if I remember right. And then from 5 down to 11 is the normal, that is project management and how you take responsibility of your designs further down. And then your how you go about to ensure that you got your, what they call it, CPD, continuous development training, how you went about that.
Okay,
So
great, thanks.
Usually your first 4 is basically how did you design? What did you design? How did you do your calculations? It's actually very well defined in the alternative route. What is the requirements there?
Okay, good. Thanks. Thanks, Chris.
Okay, thanks. Okay, Gene, thanks. Any other questions? Anybody else got any questions?
Come on, guys, it's your opportunity. Beware. Go ahead.
Hello,
Hi,
hello,
guys.
sir.
Hi, how are you guys?
Oh, good.
I can't complain.
Yes. I just want to ask a question. It's as well, I think it's not related to the today's topic, but it's something that has I had an issue with when I was trying to fill in my form. Say, for instance, in the form, you are requested when it comes to the summary of your experience that you categorize your work according to the dates that you were doing them. Say, not necessarily dates, but periods. Say, for instance, if you are responsible for 3 projects concurrently or at the same time, how then do you separate that in terms of that form? Because they are in the same period. And most of the time you find that they might be slightly different in, say, in a month or so. Say, for instance, if I'm doing 2 roads projects elsewhere and I'm doing 1 water project there, I'm responsible for, say, for instance, for design. And in the other one, I'm responsible for monitoring. So how do you then, in that form, separate the 2 in terms of the period and also the responsibilities? That's my question.
Okay, that's quite easy, that one. If you look at it, you got now that you're doing 3 projects in the same period. But you're right there. Okay, this project, I did it in this period, but you state there, I also did 2 other projects also in that same period. Then you state them and you relate back to those periods there too. You say period 1A, 1B, 1C. Then you can state it like that. And you can say period 1, these are the 3 projects I've done, but I've stated below 1A, 2A, 1A, 1B, and 1C. Then it's easy for us as assessors to understand that you were actually doing almost like multitasking. And then you will say, for instance, 1A, I did designing, I took level E. 1B, I was level D. And 1C, I was level D. That's the way you can do it. Does it help you?
It does. Thank you very much. I think it clears something that because I had to from another guy that he was saying that look, you have to have some sort of sequence of these things. You can't be doing same project at once. But now that clears everything for me because I'll be able to write them. But is it possible that maybe you have an example of what I'm saying so that I can have a look as to how do I structure it? Because I can hear you saying that you must be able to say 1A and B and C. From what I can see here in the form, there isn't clear indication as to how do you
Okay,
do that.
okay, what I'm saying is you use like, you say for this period 1, huh? Then you
Yeah.
write there and then you say, is it different clients or is it all the same client? That's another question you have to answer.
Yeah,
If it's for
yeah.
different clients, you say there, like the employer there, you say, I've got 3 different projects on the same period. You write it underneath there, you say, these 3 projects are different projects, but it's different clients, and they've been named 1A, 1B, and 1C. Then it's easier for us. It's like a cover page that you put on. You use still the TRE form, your training report form, but then you just say attached below is the 3 different projects, and you discuss them. What were your duties? So you split it, although it's the same period, because many times if you're working for small consulting companies or small companies, you tend to do a lot of multitasking in those periods. So you have to split it up like that. If you're working for a big company, you just get one project and then you go from beginning to the end. Small companies, you tend to do a lot of multitasking and at different levels of responsibility. And this is what you show. What you can also say, I did it this period for 10 months, but my involvement was 5 hours or 40 hours or 20 hours a week, which is equal to so many hours, equal to that period, that you bring it back down to 8 hours per day, to 40 hours per week. So you can do it that way too. That's no problem.
Okay, that means that you will be putting under the weeks. Say, for instance, you'll be saying, I'm working 5 hours in this project for 24, let's say for 12, not even 12, let's say 5 weeks. And I've worked on the other project, which is 1B, for say 7 hours for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay. No,
so what you say is 7 hours there for 3 weeks, and you say it's 7 x 3, it's equal to, for instance, a half a week. You understand? Bring it back down to weeks, that it's easy for the guys to understand. But remember, when you say you're doing that, you might just go to site and look at it at the site and do your site monitoring. You go back to the office, you write your reports, you write your things. So you must add those times also together. Okay, you understand there? What I'm saying. Does it make sense to you now? How you must go about it?
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Because I'm looking at the form as well when you are talking, and it does make sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot then. Keep well then.
I see there's 2 other people who's unmuted themselves.
Yes, sir. Can I go ahead?
Abel is the next. Yes. Talk to me, Abel.
Yes, sir. Yes, my question is related to what we said earlier on, but I just want an understanding. So let's say you are working on a project. It's a very big project, and it will take you from design to construction work, where you go to site. So by the time you do the design, you are a holder of a candidate technician. And then by the same time, you are also working on your BTech. So let's say that takes you a year or 2. So along the way, you will get your BTech, then you register as a candidate technologist. So by that time, when you become a candidate technologist, you are now on site, where you are doing a management, quality, and all the other things for management, supervising. So now my question is, when it comes to registering now, will you be able to register as a technologist? Because by the time you start the design, when you're working on the design, you were a candidate technician. But now you managed to get your BTech, but you are now on site by that time. So we have got the design experience and the site experience. But your design experience, by the time you did the design, you were a candidate technician. So now you'll be able to register.
There's just one question I want to ask you. When you're working, is it only one project you've done, or have you done multiple projects while you were studying? Now, another thing too is what time frame did you study to get your BTech? If you've done it within 3 years, there, is what they specify. Because some of the people, what happens is they do some of the BTech subjects. That's what I'm saying is, but they've been working as a, as a technologist, but they've been on the responsibility level 3. I mean, of not 3 of level E, where they do designs with minimum supervision. They're working on their own with minimum supervision, not design. They're basically working as technologists on level E. And they've been doing it, and they can go through the alternative route to become a technologist. But because they've done their BTech, they can actually go and do their application as if they had 3 years experience after the BTech. Does that, what I understand is that you've done a design and you were on site busy learning for your BTech, but have you, after your diploma, how many years of experience did you pick up, and were you working on the level E as a technologist? That's what you have to look at before you decide what route you're going to follow.
Okay, so let's say the project that you were designing is the same project that you go on site. So it will be like a 3 or 4 year project. So I'm calculating 5 years from the designing to go to construction. Let's say it's a road, it will be 100 kilometers. So you start the designing while you are a candidate, a technician. Let's say for 2 years, the designing is happening.
Technician or technologist?
Technician.
Yeah.
Then on the 3rd year, okay, let's say the design started in 2015, and then the site work. So from 2015 to 2016, you were registered technician. Then 2017, construction work started. From 2017 up to 2020. And in between, during the year 2017, you obtained your BTech. So the duration of the BTech is 1.5 years. So now, 2020, you have reached 3 years after completing your BTech, which was completed in 2017.
No, you can apply a normal BTech then. Doesn't matter.
So now we are in 2021. Can you apply for technology?
Yes, you can apply. If you, please, just remember one thing. Hey, do a proper evaluation to see, have you got all the criteria? Do you understand what has been said? That's why I say if you go and look at RO2, STA, PT, I mean, PEPT and PCEPN, look under the professional technologist, or look under the technologist requirement table 7, if I remember right, or 12, where it explains each outcome, what is required. Do the evaluation on that. See, do you understand? Is that what you require? Do you have the requirements? And then also look under the level E, what is the requirement there, which is basically a minimum of supervision, where you actually work on your own as a technologist with minimum supervision. So you can do that on that same project if it does follow all the criteria that you require.
Okay, all right, thank you.
And so you please just go through that document. Okay.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Abel. Anybody else?
Chris, there's a question. There's a question on the chat. Anybody else wants to ask a question? Please go ahead. Unmute yourself, put your hand up. And in any case, the question, can I read it, Chris? It says on sheet 2,
I don't see it.
Of 2nd December 2020, Relevant Clause 1.1 talks about not having a supervisor to sign off, and that I may be required to write an affidavit. In my case, the supervisor that I had during the 2008-2010 period retired, and I've lost touch with him. Would it be reason enough to write an affidavit? David, in my mind, yes. Chris, you say.
Yeah, that's fine. Because if you lost touch, and that's what I said previously, a bit earlier on, this is to what you call P-word, to say is, if you lost touch and you don't know where to get hold of the person, you've tried and you don't get hold of the person, you can write the affidavit, because we're trusting you that you're doing it correctly and you're doing it honestly. That is one of the requirements in the code of conduct, that you must be honest with integrity. So you can do that. There's no problem in that. Okay.
More questions? Some of you guys wanted to ask, Arno?
Hello everyone, Chris. How are you guys doing?
Oh, good.
Yes. Fine.
I just wanted to find out, because I'm busy filling in my TR 2.1 form. So it's again the same question that I want to ask. Is I am working for a small consulting firm. So let's say in my first period, let's say my B period, I'm at almost like 10 projects. So to design a house takes me usually a week. And then you do like 3 or 4 houses. How do you write it down? Because in my report, I will like writing it down point for point. So each project I stated there, let's say, building a house for Paul, then I will state there the client designing a house for Paul, and then yeah, the list of projects that I have completed in that time period. So I just want to find out, if you go further ahead and you need to write your report, can I refer back to any project that was listed in that time period?
I mean, in your, as I understand what you're saying is, in your engineering report,
Yes.
you can refer to any of the projects, yes, if they to give that criteria there, what is required under that criteria. Like if you designed a lot of houses, but if you designed the houses and they are similar, you can say, I've designed the houses, these are the designs I've done, and these are the similar, and they are similar, and this is what I did in your TER. That's fine for that period. And you can just list those houses there. To say, I've done house there at this area, this one and that, or I did 6 houses in this period, but they were all similar in design.
Okay, thank you. And then yeah, so I can reference back to that 6 houses if I want to complete the lower portion of the application.
Yes, you can. You have to refer back to that there to say, because what the people do is they tend to generalize a project. What they say is they've done, especially in the engineering report, they say, I've done 6 houses and this is what I've done. I've just done 6 houses and I comply with the standard. They don't say what they've complied with. So remember, if you're saying in outcome 1, how did you go about to get your information and that? And although it's 6 houses, in similar gathering the information, you say, I gathered the information, this is similar, and these are the steps I did, and this is what I found in all 6 of these properties, for instance. And this is how I designed it and how I collected the information. Don't just say, it's generalized, say, I collected the information. When I'm collecting information, this is how I collect the information for the houses. You say, they're similar, but for specifically, I'm talking about this property. This is how I collected my information.
Okay,
so you can name one of the properties there.
The
Okay.
question, because they
Yes.
asked also in that same form, they asked the nature of problems that you addressed during that period. So if you had 10 projects going on in that period that you designed and you have completed, can you just state in one problem? Because I promise you, if I must list all my problems that I have solved, there's not going to be enough space on those pages.
Okay, let me just ask you one question.
Yes,
look at your, if you want to say solve a problem, look at what it is. Is it a broadly defined engineering problem, or is it just a well-defined engineering problem, or is it just a problem? So you have to look at the criteria. If one of those problems due there, problem solving, it is a broadly defined engineering problem, you list it and say, this is what it is, and this is how I solved it, how I gathered the information, how did I solve it, what options did I look at before I solved it on this problem. Because I understand you do structural, am I correct?
Yes, I do structural and then also a bit of civils, like civil
Okay,
water
no,
and-
but just one thing I want to tell, I'm going to make a statement and I'm going to get shot by all the structural guys. Structural and civil is one department. We all civil engineers. We all do civil engineering. So please, when you do structural, you can state the problem, what you did and how you solved it on that one of your projects. And also, look at a few things there. Look at the social. Look at those structural guys tend to forget about the project management and social also. That is to be handed down there. Then from 1 to 3, we have no problem with them. We are fine. But the common fault is what the guys do is they tend, or the ladies, when people are doing structural, they tend to forget about the other information also. So it's just a hint for you there to help you on that. Okay, Arno. It's a pleasure. Anybody else? You on?
I don't see anybody. Let's ask again. Anybody? You're welcome. I see we're up to 32 people again. We were 27 a little while ago.
Oh.
So yes, if you have a question, please unmute yourself and ask your question, or put your hand up and unmute. It's your chance now.
Can I ask somebody to...
We don't charge you for asking questions.
Can I just ask somebody to ask a question? Is Dr. Sina. He always, every time he participates, but today is quiet. Dr. Sina, how are you today?
I'm fine. I am fine. No problem. No matata.
Today you're quiet.
Very information, important information. No, I am comfortable.
But when we do when we give referrals, it's always I see you have to be so careful that it's not character assassination. I don't know if you agree on that too, there, Dr. Sina.
No, you are right. But let me give you an example, because a lot of UNISA students are in the prison and they write the exam in the prison. One guy has told me that I should be his referee, though he's a good candidate. So I am hesitating. Technically, he's fine, but I am thinking I can mention one line that currently he's in the prison. What is your opinion?
Where is he in?
In the prison, Pretoria.
Prison?
Yeah, jail. Because a lot of students are there and they're writing exam.
Yeah. It depends on what they are in for.
No, but I don't know which type of crime he has done. But as a technically, he's a good guy, no doubt about it. But I'm thinking I'll be one of his referee, because I was also mentoring him, but I'll mention one line that currently he's in the prison. What is your view?
Yes. It's a very difficult one there, because if you don't know Wafi, if he was there for fraud and that.
Chris, can I comment?
This I don't know. Yeah.
I would say, Pramod, I would say that you just don't comment on that specific outcome on his ethics. You just say there you can't comment.
Yeah.
I see you has got another question there.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Sina.
Okay,
it's good
thanks.
to hear your voice for a change. Thanks.
I'm I'm just looking at what Dr. Sinha is saying, but I think the new ECSA form that was done last year, December 2020, there's a new section there for some sort of, I can say it's some sort of declaration of some sort. Also, I think it encompasses if you are mentally fit and also have you been in a manner that you are sorry, but I think there is a form that maybe address the issue of someone being in prison. I'm not sure, but when I looked at that form, it was a new form. I'm not sure it was addressing the same thing. It's a
It's actually, yeah, no, thanks for that. Because basically, when you do your application, you have to declare any of any criminal acts, whatever you've done there. You know, sometimes it can be a minor, but you know, if you get put into prison, it's not so minor as what we think it is. So, as what Johan said there, we don't comment on ethics there. You know, so when you're a referee, you have to actually look at what you're going to comment on there. If he's good on design and the first three outcomes, the rest you don't comment on, for instance, if you don't know how.
Because
but it's a bit difficult sometimes. Yes.
Yeah, but because now can I read one line out of it so that
yes, you can.
Yeah, there is I think it's if you are having the I think it's number 7, the declaration. It says there on number 3, item 3, the description says, I have never been convicted of any offense in a foreign country and sentenced to imprisonment without any option of a fine, or in the case of fraud, to a fine or imprisonment, or both. So what does that mean in what Dr. Singh was saying? Because to me, it might be something that would have maybe a disadvantage for someone who's in prison. I don't know. I'm just asking.
Yeah, it can be a disadvantage. It depends on what they've been put in there for. Because if you're fraudulent, your ethics is not there. So you have to actually try and prove to the community that you're not doing that activity again anymore. So there is a time frame, and that's where the prisons will actually state you are reformed. As I understand, that's what they say, but you know, then they put you on parole. But a lot of we won't get into this argument. I mean, into this discussion further, because you know it can get very
sensitive,
emotional with a lot of people. No, emotional for people, because there can be people whose family are in prison and things like that. So I don't think we must discuss this any further.
Yeah, or falsely arrested for something they didn't do in any case.
Yes.
But nevertheless, I was just saying my interpretation of this would be going directly to what Doctor was saying, that maybe that would be a problem of some sort. Because now this is a new form. It wasn't here on the previous forms. So all of a sudden there's this declaration that you have to fill in.
Yeah, usually it was also that was filled in the code of conduct, rules and regulation. I mean, there that you had to read, and it was written there. But now they're putting it in to declare that you must declare that you've not done that.
Okay. Can you see that sharing?
Okay, I see the Johan. Can you just close that other screen quickly again, your shared screen? And then I see there is somebody who's looking for an answer there. For Hertha Harrison, you can register working in a foreign country. Hello? Hertha, you can answer, you can talk. You can foreign country, but you must make sure that you understand the standards that we use here in South Africa.
Yeah, well, beginning of the talk, we had one of our guys who said that he was working in Namibia, and obviously he can register if he's working in another country.
Yes, but he must just be able to understand South African standards that is used in the legislation and regulations that we do use.
Let me see if Bookus is still with us. He said he might lose us in the, what's the name? But I don't see his name on the list anymore. No, Bookus is not with us anymore. But in any case, and Bookus has been working in South Africa for many, many years. So if you're doing a project in a foreign country and you're working for a local company, obviously you would not be having a problem to register, because also you would probably be working with some South Africans there that can, or other professionals, as long as they're professionally registered, that can write referee reports for you and consign your work off.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I just want to say we had an applicant who was working in New Zealand, and we did the interview, but he had done some work in South Africa, and he went to New Zealand and is working there for the company, the same company, but he could relate to all the South African standards and the regulations and legislation that is required here in South Africa. And he was registerable. So I had also another applicant who was just worked overseas the whole time, and he wanted to register, but he didn't understand our social and he couldn't relate to any South African legislation. He was talking overseas, that's fine, but we also need to have, because ECSA is the Engineering Council of South Africa. You agree with me on that, Johan?
Yeah. Eugene, he's got his hand up again. Please carry on, Eugene.
Yes. Okay, Eugene.
If I'm asking too many questions, just say so.
No, it's fine.
Okay.
You're asking questions, so the other guys are too shy to ask.
Okay.
About.
If all goes well, how long does it normally take from document submission to interview?
It's usually, it takes between 6 to 3 months. And it depends on your field, but civil engineering usually goes quite fast. Agricultural does have a bit of a problem because they haven't got a lot of agricultural
but I have to write
engineers
the
in
number
there.
down on the cover page. Eh? Again?
Sorry, just say again, Chris.
Okay. I said it usually if civil engineering, it takes between, before when you do your application, it takes, I've seen that it goes within 6 to 8, 6 to 2 months, to 3 months that the whole thing goes through. So basically it is quite fast in the field of civil engineering. I don't know how it goes in mechanical and electrical. I think they're also quite fast. When it comes to agricultural, there is a problem. It takes a bit longer because there's not so many agricultural technologists and engineers in the field. So, but in civil, it's not so. It doesn't take so long.
Are they currently? Sorry, yeah.
Yes, in the past it used to take quite longer, but nowadays it's much faster now.
Okay. Are there currently any COVID regulations in place with regards to the interviews? Is everything contact interviews?
No. The interviews are done by Microsoft meeting. So you don't have to wear your mask when you're doing the interview.
Okay, great.
And also one of the requirements of the interview is what we do is you have to be in your own room. The door has to be locked. Nobody must come in while you're doing the interview. And we also ask you to do a 360-degree turn to see if the room is empty during any time during the interview. If somebody is in the room with you, we stop the interview and then you will be deferred.
Okay.
So it's all done online nowadays.
Okay.
all the interviews. So there is a possibility that you will, maybe if your engineering report is not well put out, there will be some queries and you will have an experience interview. But if you don't have an experience interview, you will go straight through to the professional review, which also there is. And that requires you to do a 15-minute presentation. And
Okay,
after
that
that,
was
we question you on any of your engineer, based on your engineering report and also based on your presentation.
okay. You just answered my next question as well. So great. Thanks, Chris.
Okay, it's a pleasure. Okay, there's just one thing, please, guys, and I've also mentioned this previously in the previous slides. In the previous presentation. When you're doing your engineering interview, your experience interview or your experiential interview, you will only be asked about the outcomes on the letter that you will receive. So you must prepare for that. Sometimes it does happen on a rare occasion while we're doing the interview. On the experience interview, we realize the applicant is not his work, and then we will ask him other questions on other outcomes. So if they say outcome 1, 2, 3, 7, and 8, that's what you prepare for. Okay. Anything else? Does that answer all the questions for you, Gene?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks.
Okay, it's a pleasure. Anybody
Hello, sir.
else?
Yes, sir.
Okay, who am I speaking to?
Abel.
It's Abel.
Okay, Abel, yeah.
Yes,
Okay,
yeah,
Abel.
one more question. When we are putting these projects that we have done, how long, like the duration, is there a cutoff to say from the projects that were done before 2015, now we are not considering them, or one project that were done in the last 5 years, or you can do any project that you did maybe in 2012?
Okay. When you started working as a technician or when you started your career, we were assisting you putting those projects right up to the end where you've up to today. Because we like, as assessors, we like to see how you develop. And from that, we can also pick up information that will help us to assess your documents. So don't just write from you done where you got your BTech the last 4 years and that. It's very difficult for us to determine. But if you write where you started, when you had your diploma, it might be 15, 20 years ago, and you were out, and we can actually see the progress, how you went and how you developed. It's easier for us to assess. Okay.
All right. So
Okay.
let's say someone worked on a R1 billion project, a very long one. 10 years, only has got 2 projects from 2014 up to now. 2 projects, one project, will it be fine?
Yeah, you can use that project for, say, that 1 billion. What did you do there? That you have to decide. You have to state to us of what was your responsibilities on that project. You write there 1 billion. It doesn't mean much to us. What we're interested in is to see what were your responsibilities. Even on that project, might be 5 years. You started maybe as an assistant, and you progress to assistant, resident engineer, then you progress to a resident engineer. We want to see that progression, how you went out. In the beginning, you might just be assisting and looking and seeing what you're developing there. Then you start assisting, you get to level B, then you get to level C, D, and E. Maybe on that project that we can see. So you write, although it's that long period of that project, you say, this is what was my responsibilities. I did it, for instance, 20 weeks. Then I went and did another level of responsibility on the same project, but a different period. And then I was there. I was on level B. You understand what I'm coming to now?
Yeah, I get you.
Okay, so we want to see your progression, how it went about there, Abel.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Zolani?
Scroll and blink.
Zolani? I see Zolani's hand is up. You can come in, Zolani.
Okay, Chris, right on this point of the background of your, I just want to ask if maybe you can comment on how I did it. Because remember,
Yes.
I said I was registered as a professional. Yes. What I did, I started working in 2009, and then I graduated in 2018, my BTech. But then I registered as a professional engineering technician in 2017. So what I did, I did a summary as one period of starting from 2009 up until I graduated my BTech. And then what I did there on the nature of the problem, I did describe the problem that I did on that period. And then I also explained on the role and responsibility that what I was responsible. And then I started from being exposed up until I perform. Because I wanted the assessor, when it's starting my period number 2, where in 2018 I got my BTech, to see how I achieved the level E of which I started on in 2018. I don't know whether I did it correctly, because my challenge was that is the maximum pages that is required, and as well as going back and getting those supervisors of those periods. So I don't know whether I did it correctly or.
Okay, you see, what I'm saying, I said, okay, they say you can only use 50 pages. But if you go a bit over it with another 10 pages, we're not going to criticize you on that. You understand what I'm saying? 5 or 6 or 7 pages further, it's no problem. But don't go to 100 and 120 pages, then it's a bit of a problem. So basically what you can do is you can break that period up. What I'm saying is, if it's the same level of work that you're doing in, for instance, if you did a period of 3 years and it was the same level of responsibility, you can summarize that and say, this is what I did on this projects, and these are the projects, and these were the responsibilities, if it's in the same company. So where your level of responsibility has changed, there you put in the new period also, and also where you changed your employer. You put it in there, then you fill in your form according to that. Does it matter? Do you understand, Sonlani?
Yes, I do understand. I do understand what you're saying. I do understand. So do I have to necessarily attach also the calculations of those periods?
No, you don't. If it's going to be bearing towards your level E, yes, do attach, but don't. You know, you can just write a short summary of the calculations, what you used under your TER. We look at the TER to see what your level of experience that you picked up, because your supervisor will sign it. If your supervisor can't sign it and is not traceable, then you do an affidavit for that period.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Does that fine? Do you understand what is happening now there, what I'm explaining to you?
Yes, I do understand what you said to me.
Yeah. Because sometimes your supervisors, you never know. He might have passed away, or you can't trace him. You go to the police and you do an affidavit to say, this person I tried to get hold of and I can't get hold of, or he has passed away in that time. And this is my period of time that you discuss and say which period you're talking about, from this time to this time, according to my documents or the TER.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Okay. No,
okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Solani. All right. Any other questions?
Mr. Chiringa, do you have a question? I see you're unmuted. And you've been unmuted a number of times.
I think it's a mistake. I've just joined, so I'm following the proceedings.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I was offline. I've just joined, so I have nothing to ask for now.
Oh, good. Because
Okay.
Sorry for that. Let
I
me
muted you
unmute.
once or twice before.
All right.
When I heard there
Okay.
was some background noise. Thanks. But if you have a question, feel free to ask. Okay, if there's no more questions, guys, it's 2:15 already. I think I would like to go and have some lunch, have something to eat. Chris, I presume you as well. Thank you, everybody. There's
Thanks.
Mlungisi is still asking a question. Mr. Dlamini, or is it Mrs. Dlamini? I'm not sure what the name is.
Oh, it's Mr. Dlamini.
Yes. Okay. You can ask your question.
Good afternoon, everyone. Sorry, Chris. Unfortunately, I just joined in the middle of this session. Just a quick question. If you were working on site, and then sometimes you'll find that, for instance, you grow within your responsibilities, maybe up until maybe you become a resident engineer. And then for maybe a reason, maybe say, for instance, now you finish the project, but your company have not yet given you a project to move on to for any reason. But now they choose maybe to move you to another project that already has a resident engineer. And then maybe they put you there as an assistant resident engineer for maybe a short period of time, like 6 months or so. How do you then, because now you were in an RE, and then for that 6 months you become an ARE, and then after that, when you have your own projects, now you become an RE again. How do you then structure that on your report? Thank you.
All right. What I'm saying is any project that you change, any company you change, and your level of responsibility changes, that is your period that you fill in your TER. So for instance, like you were previously, you worked on the company there, you started the project, you were assistant, and then you became a supervisor, for instance, in the consultancy, you were just monitoring, and then you became an assistant RE, and then you worked up to an RE. So those periods you must define well, although it's the same project. Then when you go from level, for instance, A to E, you define those periods. Then you're going to become now an RE, assistant RE. That might not, to you, it might feel like a demotion for 6 months. Then you're right there. Were you supervised in doing what you were doing, level E or level D, that you defined there. Then your next project that you become a RE where you are limited, you're working on level E. So you specify those periods. It's no problem. We look at that. We don't say, yes, no, you made some trouble. We understand the industry because we're working in an industry. We, your peers, we understand what's happening. Sometimes you have to go and help out on a project there, although they can't have 2 REs on the project, so they make the one person the assistant RE and the other one the resident engineer. So it's no problem on that there. Does that answer your question, Mr. Dlamini?
Yes, it does, Chris. Thanks a lot for that.
So don't think it's going to be held against you. Just remember your application is not just based on your engineering report or just on your referee referrals or just on your training experience report. Everything gets holistically looked at. Everything that we get from you, even your calculations, your examples that you've given, we look at it holistically and then we make our decisions. So we don't just use one item to stop. No, we look at holistically the whole document that gets sent the application. Okay.
Okay.
Is
Thanks.
Okay. I see, Jean, you got your hand up.
Hi guys, thank you for taking my question. I know you guys want to wrap it up. Just a quick one. Chris, you just mentioned calculations and examples. For me personally, I would like to show as much as possible examples and calculations to prove my competence and so on. But obviously, if I'm going to start attaching calculations and so on, it can be quite a lengthy document that I will submit. Have you got any advice or guidance as to how an example or calculations would be submitted?
Okay. Like I say, is you identify one project that you've identified in your outcome 1, 2, and 3. And then where you add your calculation, you only add in one of those calculations as an example to say this is that I've identified this structure or whatever, or this is the pipeline, this is my calculations, this is my drawing. So you don't go and do each one. We can see if you know what you're talking about in your document, because remember, your assessment is done based on like a desktop study. From there on, you go on to either your experience interview, which is to fill in the gaps that was not put in your report. So that's why your report is very important, your engineering report and your training report, all those documents. And if that is fine, it gets sent to, there's 4 assessors that go through it, gets sent to a moderator. There's 2 moderators that look at it. Based on what we say and what the moderators also assess your documentation that is given, they can decide, they can overrule the assessors, what they've written there, and they can say they need these outcomes to be the gaps filled in, or they can say it's not required. You can go to professional review straight away. But if you go to interview, it's usually 3 interviewers there for experience interview with 2 moderators again. And based on that, they will send you either to a professional review, which is 3 interviewers. And after that is 2 moderators that look at that. And then it gets sent to the registration council, what they've read. But remember, all the interviewers and moderators and assessors, they actually work independently from each other. So they don't, although we know each other, but we work independent with our reports that we write.
As far as those projects are concerned, those jobs that you've done, you know which jobs were the most challenging and where you had to apply your engineering knowledge to the greatest extent, and which would be the best projects that would get you registered. In other words, where you were delegated full responsibility and where you can prove all the outcomes from the project. So look at those, pick a project. Obviously, you say, I've done so many projects over the years in your report that you've done many projects. You don't have to number them, but you can say you've done many projects of this type, but here is one project which is used as an example. But as I say, pick obviously the best project that would most easily get you registered. And remember, you don't want to put too many things in, because these guys who are the assessors and the moderators and all those, they do this work in their own time. They do it after hours. Most of them have a full-time job and they do this after hours. I remember when I was on the registration, I used to do this, say I was traveling to Cape Town on an airplane. I would sit on the plane and sit in the airport lounge waiting to board. I would do registration application. And so these people do it in their own time. And keep that in mind. You don't want to upset this guy. Read the requirements before you start. When you're busy, read them again. Read the requirements time and time and again. And before you submit your stuff, read the guidelines and what is required again, and see that you can actually fulfill all the requirements. So you can't read those requirements too many times. You mustn't think that you know how to do it. The requirements is very clear. It tells you exactly what is required, how you must do it. So work according to what is required, and don't go your own route. Thanks.
There's just one thing I just want to say, add on to what Johan says. Remember, choose your best project that has all the requirements therein. And remember, this is not a job interview, because a lot of people think it's a job interview and then they put all the projects and they discuss all their projects, and it gets laboriously long. As Johan also said, we do this in our voluntary, in our own time. Like for instance, I do travel a lot, but it's by car, it's difficult to do it, riding on the roads and doing. So we do it in after hours when we got time, after our time with our families, when they're sleeping, we're still working, or we do it over weekends. It's all our free time. So that's why they limited it to about 50 pages. But I said you can go a bit over. But choose a project that has got all the requirements required there. And that's fine then. Okay, Jean, does that answer your question?
I believe so. Yeah, thank you. Sorry, I lost you halfway there. But yeah, in a nutshell, I got exactly what you were saying. Thank you.
Basically what I say is just to look which of your projects that you've done, as Johan said, there is the one that if it's got all the requirements in that is required for the outcomes, use that one. And you just state the others, I've done this and that. But in the engineering report, take one project that gives the requirements. You can use, for instance, requirement outcome one project, outcome 2, a different project, outcome 3. But preferably, it's actually easier for us as assessors to have outcome 1, 2, and 3 on the same project. Then it's easy for us to assess.
Yes, yeah, sure, that definitely makes sense.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, Jean. Thanks.
All right. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Okay.
Okay, guys,
Johan,
I think we call it a day for today.
Yeah.
This was brought to you by the Institute of Professional Engineering Technologists. You're welcome to become a member if you are, if you have a BTech, or if you're a student doing a BTech or a BET. And obviously, if you are a graduate that you have not registered a candidate, you can still become a member. And these talks we do for free. We don't charge for it. We do it as a service to you guys, because we see you as our future members who are going to take the lead in the institute and take fight for technologists and future. We had a request yesterday again for people who are having difficulties with some regulations of government, and we will be taking up the matter for them. So that is what we do, is we take up matters and fight for the status and the work of the technologist. So that is our aim. And obviously we also provide CPD at an affordable price, and our membership fees also very affordable. It's in line with the lower side of, we don't charge high fees, because we don't have a lot of staff, and a lot of the work is done just by people who do it for free. So thank you for being here. And in 2 weeks' time, as we said, we talk about filling in the forms, how to fill in the forms. So you're welcome to join again. We'll do the same as this time. We put it up on LinkedIn, advertise it there. We also then advertise on all our chat groups, and the people who had asked from LinkedIn to be put on the chat groups, I didn't have time to put them all on. I just sent them the link on. I just copied the link and posted that to them this morning. So we try and accommodate all of you, and bring your colleagues. You're most welcome to bring them along. And as I said, we record this and we put it up on our website. Thank you very much. and have a nice day and have a nice week.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for enjoy your day and keep well and be safe.